Ariel at the start asked me, oh, in recitation, there was a question where I gave you like a big molecule and you had to identify like all the functional groups. Would there be something like that on the exam? And I said, yeah, because it would be like an easy question for me to just put one molecule up there. You wouldn't have to identify all the functional groups, but I could like box in 3 or 4 functional groups and say, where's the alcohol or where's the ketone or whatever. So we should be familiar with all the functional groups. As for the name, right, we should also be familiar with how to name them. So alcohol, right, ends in OL. Butanol has the OL ending there. So the butanol should be matched with alcohol. Right, butanoic acid is going to be a carboxylic acid, which is way down there at the bottom. That one should also be self-explanatory, acid and an acid. The other one that's easy is ketone, so heptane 2-one, right? ONE ending just like ketone. So that is, all right, those two would be matched together. The only one that's kind of hidden, right, is the ethoxyethane, right? But that is an ether because I've got carbon, oxygen, carbon, right? I've got the carbon. Yeah, that was a mistake. I was trying to think of like how to differentiate this, but we'll just leave it at that. Carbon, oxygen, carbon, right? And the ethoxy, so I've got a 2-carbon group, an oxygen, a 2-carbon group, right? That would match with an ether. Benzene is an aromatic. We didn't even talk about that. An alkane would just be carbon and hydrogen. So that one is also an outlier. We don't have a carbon-carbon double bond, right? So the alkene is also an outlier as well. The aldehyde ending is Al, right? So nothing here ends in Al. So we should be able to match those 4 functional groups up. The ester, right? Esters. Right, so esters end in OATE. We name an ester in 2 parts, right? The prefix comes from the alcohol side. So the prefix, I've got 1 carbon, 2 carbons. So that would be ethyl. The base name comes from the side that would have had the carboxylic acid. So the base needs to contain that carbonyl, right? The base needs to contain this carbonyl. And in that carbonyl, there is a carbon. You need to count this carbon. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, 4 would be butane. We drop the E and we add OATE to make that an ester, right? So the full structure, CH3, CH2O, right? If we don't like the line angle drawing, right? CH2, CH2, CH3. Both of those structures are the same thing. But yeah, our esters are always named in 2 parts. What would have come from the alcohol is the prefix. Many people have said, is this always on the left? No, you can't just name it left side, right side. You have to look at the functional group, right? The alcohol carbon chain or the oxygen carbon chain, that's our alcohol side. That's my prefix. 2 carbons, ethyl. The base is always going to have to include this carbon-oxygen double bond and that carbon. So 4 carbons here in the base for that butanoate. So yeah, good question to review esters as well. That was one of the homework questions that we went over a few times Sunday night. Yep.
Started with the longest chain.
Yeah, I can draw this one, two. It's this last one. Yeah, so we're still doing the same thing here. Right, we've got 1, 2, 3. One, two, three, 4, and then 5. Right, so this was from recitation. I'll draw it over here in the full, right? CH3, CH2, right? CH2. And you can see quickly why we like to do the line angle drawing instead, right? A lot less carbons to write in. 1, 2, 3, a lot less hydrogens. Ah, crap, ran out of space. 3. So you may have started with the longest chain. Yeah, you still start. Oh, okay, I see your question, right? It doesn't matter which one is longer or shorter, right? What matters is where is my functional group, right? So here in the ethyl butanoate, right, this is shorter. Yes, it goes first, but there's no relationship to this being shorter and going first, right? What's important is oxygen, carbon, carbon. This is my prefix. So over here in this one, right, this now, my alcohol group is on the right side. Yes, it's longer, but it doesn't matter. It's on the alcohol side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 carbons, right? We've got 5 carbons in my prefix. So that would be pentyl. And then in the base name, right, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 carbons. And what's important is that the base includes that carbonyl. So right here would be the base name over here, or the base structure. 4 carbons. All right, so butanoate, right? It would still have the same ending as the one up here. So maybe that was your question, right? The length doesn't change what the prefix is or the base name is. It's truly just the functional group and what's attached to what, right?
Butanoid.
Yeah, so if we flipped it, right? If we flip that structure, let me just draw that, right? If we flip that structure, yeah, if we flip that structure, right? Hopefully I drew that correctly. So if we flipped, right, the directionality of this and put the oxygen on this side, now we would have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got butyl, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pentanoate. Yeah. That is always the base. Yes, the base will always have to have the carbonyl, right? The base will always have to have that carbonyl carbon as part of the chain for it to be the base. Not doing a very good job highlighting that one, but you get the idea. Yeah, we need to, there's a carbon there. We need to count that carbon and include that carbon. Yeah, so good questions. Yeah, I know a few of you told me you thought that the Alex homework question on naming the esters was evil. Yeah. Any other questions on this? Yeah. Correct. Yeah. For ethers, it's the longest chain because there, it's carbon on both sides and oxygen. So here, it matters because we're changing where that oxygen is connected to. We're not symmetrical, right? We're not carbon, oxygen, carbon. Yeah, so that ethoxyethane, we've got 2 carbons and oxygen, and then 2 more carbons there.